The rest don't. Good board does act like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call the July 25th, 2023 Greater Clark County School Board of Trustee meeting to order. If you would please note that all board members are here, and would you all please stand with me to say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item would be the approval of the agenda. Board, I move that we approve the agenda as presented. Could I please have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchison. Do we have any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining. Next item would be public comments, and I don't believe we have those. Yippee. And now we're ready for the major fund monitoring report.
I'm so excited about this part of the board meeting.
Are you excited? This is the time to be excited because this is your June numbers which kick off the budget season. So, some accolades here for you this evening. So that's a great time to really, I talk about this every month, but this is the time to really be proud of what this board and district has done at this point. And I always said I've got data to back up when board gels with the admission on the school district. I can show you your numbers what that means. And here's the primary one. If you look at your education fund compared to last year we had 6.7 million in June. We ended with 8.1 million. This is good because we are in the biennium, which is a new formula that the state has presented to us. So we've positioned ourselves very well to handle the good and bad, if there is any bad, but we feel like there's going to be some good coming our way. And it is time to be negotiating with our teams inside the district. So the education takes the brunt of that, and we work very hard to get funds into a classroom, and you guys have fulfilled that mission, I feel. So that's a great big accolade there. Next, in your operations fund, last year you ended the fiscal year at 5.2 million. You're ending it with 6.5 million. Remember, this fund has to be built up because I feel that the capital plans and operation costs, which is property insurance, maintain your buildings from this point forward. All your building needs, we need to build this appropriation up, so this cash balance is sitting here to help do that. We plan that for the next 2 years to try to make sure that we are getting that budget to where it needs to match the size of this district with the buildings that we have. Your debt service fund and pension fund, that is just strictly tax-based, where the property taxes come in. You can see that we're lower in debt service, but that's okay. A high cash balance there last year, and we don't need that high at the end. It just means how much the rate will be when all debt's paid off. So we just carry that cash balance. And then your pension debt, this right there, was important at one point where we were not living in the year that the taxes were to be collected. And so we had to correct that ship in the very first budget that we did here, and this is the result. So we were only carrying about $590,000 now, or $715. So your cash balance is now shifted over there to handle those cash balances. Those balances will fluctuate based on what payments we make every year. So those are the most significant. We make sure that those don't go to zero. But here's one for you. Our final goal to meet with this district with rainy day, we are well on our way. Last year you had 3.5 million. You are able to have 6.1 million by June 30th. So we are hitting that as hard as we can and delivering the mission to get money in the classroom. So those right there, if nothing else, if you've worked hard this year, worried, studying, and taking calls and concerns, right there is the payoff. Because now our next budget is going to now shift to where it should be matching up with the size of our district. The next.
Hey, one quick question. The pension debt, that'll be paid off in 25.
we know how much we can borrow that particular year to make sure we continue to fill all those needs within the district. That also neutralizes the tax rate between the debt. So whatever our tax rate is, I neutralize it against your operations fund, but in your operations fund, you're allowed to get this amount. I have to bring that rate down in order to accommodate this. We could not, years ago, could not increase tax rates because of it. I had to shorten one and increase that. So that one goes away. Our operations fund will go back to the rate that I can ask for. That make sense? The next is the treasurer's report. So not only do we want to look at those 5 that you just saw, but I definitely want to send you to the school lunch fund, which we're always going to talk about. We'll talk about in detail. You can see that for a few years ago, you were $600,000 in the hole, right? And now you're at $3.4 million. We'll talk about the details. You'll see a full fiscal year on the final report for that period to show you how we will be able to fund some of the needs in the construction projects related to cafeteria or required. In your self-insurance fund, you know, the goal is to maintain on a consistent basis a $3 million cash balance. You ended June with $3.3 million. We gotta make sure that, you know, we maintain that for a period of time because claims can go up and down, and it has a direct impact on that. So I make sure that we probably should have, you know, $3 million plus roughly 2 to 3 months worth of expenses to get in there, so that way you know that you're going to keep the $3 million balance. But we're doing better in that area, so we should see some positive things related to that. Our textbook rental, let's take a look at that because that's a big discussion around the state of Indiana. We were preparing ourselves because we knew that we purchased our Chromebooks through bond issuance and had the desire, this district had the desire not to charge our parents for the rental of those Chromebooks. It doesn't preclude them if the kids tear them up. I mean, restitution still applies. But we've been working very hard on building this up. What has helped us with this, Esther, Dr. Hartledge's grants, where they can pick up materials that are related to those students that are utilizing them. She's worked very hard to pick up those types of books and materials. So we were positioning ourselves to have a good cash balance here. We're projecting to get $1.5 million from the state of Indiana each year, about $150 to $151. That $150 number I've heard from 155 to 153 to 151. So if I say 150-ish per student, that's what we'll be looking to get in, and we deposit right in here. I don't have to move this money. We've already done our adoption for this period of time. We will be waiting for the list from the DOE on approved vendors and adopting materials that can be done from this point forward. So we stayed on the schedule. So not only have you stayed on the schedule to provide the proper curriculum materials, you also have the funds that most schools do not. We were already doing that long before we even knew this was going to happen. So that was one of the things that, you know, we changed our mind about TIP districts, and if they ever could help us, that would be an area, and we were already positioning ourselves for it. They can still help us anytime with this because $1.5 million does not cover everything for our students. $150 per student covers what it costs for average elementary material. Now, we're not talking about supplies. I've already handled that in the operations fund, or education fund. But the average is $300 for high school students. So you see where we're not getting everything, but this is a great start for our parents. And we will definitely make sure that we try to stay within budget on that, be conscious of what we'll continue the same whenever we have funds available in other areas to provide that material. Any questions on what you see here? Having none, Mr. President, I'm going to move on to the monthly bond report. Here's one that this is typical. We're paying as projects go on, as certain things get complete. In our Series 2017, we will be rating River Valley and Charlestown Middle. We've already done some improvements at Charlestown are in horrible shape, and for years they've been asking for those, and since we will be renovating that gymnasium, in that area, and all of that, we went ahead and got those for her, that principal, is so thankful to the board for allowing that to happen. And then we're gonna be putting a new flooring at Charlestown Middle, and the equipment that they use for volleyball is so heavy and so, if anybody dropped it, could risk damaging the floor, so it's a pretty preventative measure. We went ahead and bought some carbon equipment for volleyball, so that way when that floor goes in, we will minimize that risk for us. So those are the kind of things that we do with these bond funds to be ahead of the game on what's coming down the road here with what we're handling. Painting, when some of these renovations get done, there's the rest of the building, so we hit those buildings with painting. So we definitely are trying to stay on our painting schedule with that. And anything in addition, like, oh, I wish, when we did this project, we could have done that. And so I have a list, and even for our future projects, when you get down to the 21 renovation bond, there's proceeds left, I will go back to say, hey, we can do this or that to pay for it, so. But the most important thing is that final one, the 23 series, that is for your pool and parkwood. That's what we kind of coined it as, but there's all kinds of district work still going on with paving and roofing and all of those things that need to be repaired. So we're doing two things with this fund. We are paying our architects, surveyors, whatever we need for those two areas, the parkwood and the pool area. If we get to a point where excavating is happening before I get my next distribution, then it'll pay for that. But most of this is being used for our current plans that were already in that bond for all the miscellaneous work that we had to do. Remember, I'm only borrowing what I think I need until December. I don't want to borrow all of it now. I don't need it all right now because there's no way physically that everybody, all hands on deck, are going to get that pool built in, parkwood built in, everything done by December. So went ahead and just got a portion of it so we can move forward with the cash on that and get those projects done. So we will get that, the rest of that probably at the end of the school year because budgets will be done and we'll be coming back with contracts from both, we went from Stillman, Hagerman, once they get all of the budgets done, we're going to be doing a series of construction updates and where we're at and what next steps are happening. So we'll get that scheduled between now and the end of September so everybody doesn't come in all at once and you stay there all night. That way you can focus in on what subject at hand is there. We're almost done with our ESSER projects today. Professional let me know that they're at 90%, that they will be presenting to you to remind you what all money went to where for mainly the HVAC work that was done through the district, the major work. Any questions on the bond?
On the ESSER funds, I know that we will have a report of that and
Yes.
percentage spent and where it's spent. Is that required by law?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
We have to post it on our website what we're doing with it.
Is it just for schools or is it for everybody that gets ESSER funds? No?
I don't-
Everybody should have. Everybody, let me just say it this way. Everybody should have. In the United States, have to post what they're doing.
I agree, but I didn't know that.
I know that there's, because it's federal money, all the different entities, because we are engaged in different projects with, like through Marion University, that's ESSER money. We're approaching the Video Learning Lab for the tutoring, that's ESSER money. So I'm pretty sure that everybody's, accountable for some kind of documentation. Now, I don't know if it's as tight as what we are required to do, but there's a state dashboard that you can go on and it will tell you the percentage that has been spent at every district. In fact, Sam and I have had conversations but we had to give a presentation and outline every single bit of how we were going to spend CARES 1, CARES 2, and ESSER 3.
And dashboard's only for schools.
As far as I know.
Yeah, okay.
But any ESSER money spent on construction projects will be on the $8 million that we designated through ESSER 3, I believe, to HVAC,
Right.
it'll be all
Okay.
next year.
A separate audit from just normal. There's an ESSER 3 audit for all the learning loss, because there's a requirement of just learning loss, and then what we've done on construction is a separate piece of that. So in fact, we've already met with Perfection, and we're coming up with a plan on how to manage all that, so it's ready to roll.
Okay,
Now,
great.
then they want pictures of the equipment that was purchased.
The evidence of everything.
It's a mountain of evidence, let me just tell you, right, you know, it's not. All right, have any more questions about the bond? If none, I'll move on. May I?
Please.
So this is your first full fiscal year report of the food service report. So to make sure everybody understands that we started July of '22 with $1.7 million. We started June of '23 with $3 million and ended with $3.4 million. That's what that's saying. So $3,049,000 plus receipts in minus expenses equals $3.4 million. That final red number over to the side is the average of 3 months expenditures, because that's all we're technically allowed to have on here. Okay. The positive number all the way where it says cash, which is 3 months expense. If we're looking over just the past 3 months, we're 1.7 over, right? But the rule is you have to take a look at a 12-month rolling. So at the bottom, the total 12-month rolling expenses are $4.6 million. Okay? See, 12-month rolling expense. So as of June, the average monthly expense then, as you take that 12 months, 4.6 divided by 12, you get the average is 388. 388 times 3 equals 1.166. See, it's different than the past 3 months. That's why there's a difference between 12 rolling and the past 3. But I monitor both. According to our cash balance of 3.4 and the amount that I'm allowed to keep, the 1.166, we have $2.2 million to spend back into cafeteria funds. Now this fluctuates as we go through the 12 months. I'm always looking back, so your next report will show July of '23, and I'll be referencing this sheet. So I'm always keeping that 12-month balance. So I always say that we have, for sure, $1.6 million readily available, right? Because I kind of hold back in case there are expenses that may come in that we don't know, repairs, equipment, that kind of stuff, which still counts towards investing into your cafeteria. But remember, we are going to be doing major renovations at North Haven, and we will be setting forth. The cafeteria is also going to be supporting some things that they're wanting to do at the 2 new elementaries. Okay. So we will be making a plan on what cafeterias need upgrades, whether they need extra serving lines, equipment, once we get through the North Haven project. So according to our food service director, they have kept up very nicely with any equipment that's needed. And so in order to build this, to invest right back into the major construction, I have paid for some equipment out of the GO line, which was allowable and asked for. So that's going to help them a little bit. And so that way we know that if we need to put in, doors and serving lines, we would be able to accommodate that to those buildings that we've added classrooms to. And that was our primary focus with this. Buying a dishwasher, whatever. I took care of that out of what I was allowed to out of my GO. So that's how this has gotten built. We got a lot of education with the food service on that, and they have a great buy-in on how this works. So we will be putting a plan together, and after we do a 5-year, then we'll come back, because we should know kind of where we stand with North Haven. We have to time that. It's not going to be done, of course, by the time the school goes. They're still constructing, but they'll still be able to use their cafeteria. That part's used. are done, but the equipment takes so long to get in. So we're hoping fall break or Christmas break, somewhere in there to get all of that done. The bids went out, we should be getting all that information in soon. So, any questions on that? All right, congratulations on your fiscal ending period and the status that you're at.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Make learning fun. All right. Nobody heard that say.
I laughed.
I did,
Y'all
I really
laughed.
did.
This was nice.
I love that because each time you gather something else up and it's just more tools we have in our toolbox. All right, next item up would be the consent agenda. Board, do I have a motion for the approval?
Mr. President, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right, next will be our gifts to buildings. Would you care to do that, Ms. Hutchins?
Yeah, no, I don't mind at all. A little like this week, but Parkview Middle School received $2,000 from Park County for Camp Parkview, and about $1,000. I move that we accept this gift to buildings and about $1,000.
Awesome. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right, next item in the action department would be contract with Steel Insurance and Financial Services. How are you, Ms. Helton?
Good evening, I'm good, how are you guys?
Wonderful. They're not really giggly tonight, but
I totally giggled, bruh. That was a giggle.
Mr. Bruh, you,
Mr. Bruh. President Bruh.
sorry about that.
So Steel Benefits was approved as our benefits administrator on May 23rd. So tonight we bring to you the contracts and agreements for approval. The documents include the client service agreement, the statement of work, and the business associate agreement. The scope of services includes Affordable Care Act, benefits administration, engagement platform, and Section 125 compliance. The per employee per month pricing is $125. With that being said, we would like to ask for your approval of this contract with Steel Insurance and Financial Services.
All right. Board, do I have an approval for the contract with Steel Insurance and Financial Services?
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve the contract with Steel Insurance and Financial Services.
Thank you, Ms. Mustaine. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any questions or comments from Ms. Helton? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next one would be Playworks Recess Reboot Contract. Yay.
Good evening, Board. This is a partnership with North Haven Elementary School and a contract with Playworks to present professional development recess training to all staff and students the week of September 11th through the 15th, and it will include an assessment of our current recess culture, systems, and needs, recess training during all grade level recess times, a junior coach training with a student leadership component, and staff training to teach systems, games, and strategies to create, implement, and sustain safe and healthy play at recess. The program is being paid for by a $10,000 grant awarded through the Indiana Department of Health and $2,000 from the North Haven PTO.
Board, do I have a motion for the approval of the Playworks Recess Reboot Contract?
I move that we repeat.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed and abstaining. Okey doke, we're gonna keep moving. I'm sorry about that. The next item would be Five Star Technology Solutions Grant, DLG grant.
Yes, every year, Mr. Loeffler charges the academic team to come up with a leadership academy as well as a new teacher support academy. And we sought this opportunity as a way to be able to expand what we were currently doing for our new teachers. As you know, we started last week with a full day orientation that sort of presents them with just a lot of logistical kinds of things, operational kinds of things, just to be able to launch the school year. But we know in this day and age where many from traditional teaching programs that they need more support now more than ever. So this is an opportunity through 5 Star that we were able to seek the digital learning grant to help us add in some blended learning, which is basically how do you integrate technology into the traditional curriculum, and also be able to pay stipends for our teachers. They will have 6 additional training workshops from 4 to 7 in the evening. And we've done this different ways over the years, and as you can imagine, for teachers who are beginning their career or even just new to education, after working all day, it's hard for them to come for 3 hours in the evening. So this is a great way to be able to compensate them. We have good attendance, and ultimately it helps us to enhance the overall practices of our teachers. So that's essentially what this is. And the 5 Star Technology Solutions, they will come in and provide the training on those 2 blended learning sessions that we have, and then the remainder of the funds will be able to cover the stipends for our teachers in the other sessions, which will be presented by members of our academic team.
Great. Board, I move that we approve the 5 Star Technology Solutions presentations with the IDOE Digital Learning Grant. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Do we have any questions or comments?
I do.
Okay.
The teacher stipends, will those just be a flat rate or will it be?
It's in our contract, and it's a 3-hour session, and they will receive $150 for every session that they attend. So, and our topics are classroom management, the blended learning, teacher clarity, and then there's one on assessment and mastery.
So they could do all 4?
Well, we are encouraging them to attend. There's 6 actually total. So we're encouraging them to come to all of them.
That's cool. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained. Okey-doke. The next would be the Karen Pritchard Consulting Agreement.
Yes.
Dr. Harden.
Karen is a retired Greater Clark employee. She's going to be contracted to support and be a deaf and hard of hearing interpreter who will serve students during the absence of one of our full-time interpreters. She is skilled in the field of interpreting for students in the classroom environment, and it's needed due to the unique nature in the field of interpreting. Hours will be submitted to the Special Populations Department and will be compensated through grant funding.
Okay, board, do I have a motion for the approval of the Karen Pritchard Consulting Agreement?
I move that we approve it.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained. Thank you. Next is the Memorandum of Understanding with Ben Sims.
Yes, Greater Clark will provide an internship opportunity for a student attending Vincennes University. The internship will allow a current employee the opportunity to expand the licensure she has while holding their current position. There will be no cost to Greater Clark for the internship, and this allows one of our teachers to extend her licensure to a mild intervention.
Okey-doke. Board, do I have a motion for this approval?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with Vincennes.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained. Okey-doke. The next one would be the bus rental agreement. Danny Borders, how are you, Brent?
Doing wonderful. How are you doing?
Great. We're all having the time of our lives.
Yes, it's interesting times.
Yeah.
Don't get arrested.
In a week, come talk to me about a week. Get off the list. So, last but not least, we're asking tonight that you all approve for the bus rental adjustment to go from $90 to $150 per day. Basically, it is due to the rising cost of fuel, maintenance of a school bus, insurance, things like that. The last time that it was actually increased was approximately 20 years ago, 2004. And so we're just asking for an increase from 90 to 150.
Board, do I have a motion for that approval? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do we have a second? Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. All right, thank you, sir. Okay, comes to the witching hour here. Board comments. Mr. Jones? Mrs.
I
Hutchinson?
hope everybody has a good back to school day tomorrow, which is an appropriate time to talk about back to school. It's tomorrow. Not before, that's offensive. Not 2 weeks ago, not 4 weeks ago. I know, it was offensive. But I hope everybody has a good time, and thank you again to our teachers for allowing us to start a great school.
Just looking forward to kicking off the school year. Hope all our students have a very successful year. And parents, hope for your temperature stay cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Pretty much the same. Just hope everybody has a good school year this year. Everyone's safe.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to go ahead and remind everybody, please sign up for a free reduced lunch. It's not too late to do that, but also have a good, safe way to start off school. Hopefully, we don't have any issues with car rental lines. I know some of those have changed, but also just if anybody's like me, I'll see y'all at brunch tomorrow because I'm dropping my kids off and I'm just taking the rest of the day off.
Just kind of the same sentiment. It's an exciting time, the first day back, and kids are excited. And teachers are trying to figure out what outfit to wear tomorrow, and so are the kids. So just good luck, and Daniel, I'll be thinking about you. Right.
Even better. I don't know who's watching, but I just want to say be patient. It's very, very difficult, as everybody knows, to get all these things back on track. If you remember at the end of school last year, obviously things were going really well. And it's because we've done those things multiple times in a row. It's all new, bus drivers are getting new routes. They're just, things take a little more time. They take a little more time in class. It's part of starting back to school. And so many people get upset at the bus driver, and the teacher didn't tell us, and somebody left something, and they should have done this. And just understand, we're just trying to help, and we're just trying to help get your kiddo on the right track. And just, like I say, I listen to it, I get calls, and sometimes it's like, how do they not know where my kid lives? I mean, hey, look, they know where your kid lives. They had a hiccup, something went wrong. So anyway, I have to tell my wife that, please be patient. This is really directed at her, if she would see this. She never watches, so it doesn't really matter. She has no idea that this is being said. Yeah, I know. Someone hit her computer charger. She has no idea where it is. So, sorry about that. But anyway, be patient. Thank you.
And I agree, as everybody learns how to get in and out of the school, especially new parents to the district or new parents to the school, be patient on, eventually after 4 or 5 days, everybody gets in a routine and things settle down pretty quickly. And the same in the cafeterias, there'll be some lunches that run over and kids will need a little extra time to eat before they get to class, but eventually that all works itself out after 4 or 5 days and everybody gets in a routine. But I think we're ready. I mean, our Human Resources Department principals have done a great job of hiring. We're still short in some classified areas such as paras, but I think teacher-wise, I think we're maybe only 2 or 3 positions short, which is fantastic compared to what I'm hearing from some other school districts throughout the state. Met with Daniel this morning at the cabinet. He feels really good about transportation, being staffed, and being able to cover all routes. We went through all of last year, not having to cancel any routes. So the expectation is we'll do that again this year and not cancel any routes, right, Daniel? But we've planned as well as we can for this year, and now it's time to get going. And we feel good about where we're at. And the other thing I wanted to remind the board, Laura brought it up, we want to have a work session at the August 22nd, after the August 22nd board meeting, just really to go over the budget. And then we'll push the 5-year facility plan work session to September 26th after that board meeting. Because each of those it's going to take a good hour, hour and a half to go through, and we didn't want to keep you here till 10 o'clock, on one night, so we'll split them up. But we'll bring to the table, at both a lot of information in regards to the budget, but on September 26th, we're going to bring a lot of information in regards to the 5-year facility plan, what's planned for next year, the following year, some different options on the middle school. We've asked Core and Jamie Lake to work together in Perfections, right, Laura, on getting us an estimate in place of what it would cost to renovate Parkview Middle School. I'm afraid of what that number may look like since it's 60 years old. But we want to come to you at the end of September at that work session and put all options on the table so that we can make a good decision on how to move forward with, the middle school project and what we're going to do, moving forward. So that's all I have.
Markowski? No, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Ms. Markowski, do you have anything nice to share about your vacation?
It was
You were missed. We
nice.
were going to call
I thought
you.
about you guys this month. I did not live stream the meeting. I did not.
I know you're watching.
Melissa and Kim were heading in the right direction.
They filled in for you very well. That's right.
They did tell me I was missed. So
I bet.
they made me feel really good.
I bet. You were. Good thing you're back.
But thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you got a good one. Okay, board, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I will be adjourned.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.